If you run a small business in Singapore and you have ever started a grant application only to watch it stall because you were missing a single piece of paper, this video is for you. Most SME owners do not lose out on government support because their project was weak. They lose out because the paperwork was not ready, a deadline slipped past while they hunted for a document, or they discovered too late that they had already begun the work a scheme was meant to fund. In the next few minutes, we will walk through the documents and details you want gathered before you apply for almost any Singapore business grant, so that when the window is open, you can move quickly instead of scrambling. One important note before we start, this channel is educational only. We are not a government agency, we are not affiliated with or endorsed by Go Business, Enterprise Singapore, or any government body, and nothing here is official advice. The exact documents each scheme asks for differ from grant to grant and are updated over time, so treat this as a general checklist to get you organized, and always confirm the precise requirements for your scheme on the official source gobusiness.gov.sg before you rely on any of it. A valid CorpPass. Let us start with the thing that quietly blocks more applications than anything else, your login. Most Singapore government grant portals, including the Business Grants portal on Go Business, are accessed using CorpPass, the corporate digital identity that proves you are acting on behalf of your company. Before you can even open an application, someone in your business needs a valid CorpPass account, and that person needs to be authorized to transact for grants. This matters more than it sounds. In a lot of small companies, the person filling in the application is not the person set up with the right CorpPass role, and the whole thing grinds to a halt while access is sorted out, sometimes for days. So the very first item on your checklist is simple. Confirm that your company has an active CorpPass, confirm who the authorized person is, and make sure that person either does the applying or can assign the right role to whoever will. Sort this out well before any deadline, not on the morning it closes, and everything after it can actually be submitted. Your ACRA company details. Next, your basic company information, the kind that lives in your ACRA records. When you apply, the portal will generally pull or ask for your company's registered particulars, your unique entity number, your registered address, your business activities, and details of shareholders and directors. Much of this comes from BizFile, the ACRA register, so it pays to make sure what is on record is current and correct. If you have moved office, changed your business activity, brought in a new director, or updated your shareholding and never reflected it in your HR filings, the mismatch can raise questions or slow down verification. Some schemes also look at local shareholding or company size to decide eligibility, and those facts are read from official records rather than from what you type in. So before you apply, it is worth pulling a recent BizFile extract of your own company and simply reading it, checking that the address, the activities, and the ownership all match reality. It is a small step that saves you from an application being held up over a detail you could have fixed in advance, and you may well be asked to attach that extract, so keep it handy. Recent financial statements. Now the numbers. A great many grants want to see that your business is a real, operating company with some financial substance, so they ask for recent financial statements. Depending on the scheme and the size of your business, that might mean your latest audited financial statements, or management accounts, or a profit and loss statement and balance sheet for the most recent financial year or two. The purpose is not to trip you up. It is to confirm that the company exists, is trading, and can co-pay its share of a project. Because most grants fund only a portion of a cost and expect you to fund the rest. If your bookkeeping tends to run behind, this is the item to get ahead of, because pulling together clean recent statements at the last minute is stressful and error-prone. Have your most recent financials ready in a tidy format, consistent with what you have filed, and if an accountant prepares them for you, give that person enough notice. Quotations from vendors. Here is one that catches people out. Quotations. If your grant is funding something you will buy or engage, a piece of software, a consultant, some equipment, a service, you will almost always be asked for a quotation from the vendor that sets out exactly what you are buying and what it costs. The application is built around that number, so a vague or missing quote holds everything up. Get a proper written quotation that names the item or service, describes the scope and states the price, and keep it with your documents. There is an extra wrinkle worth knowing for certain schemes. The Productivity Solutions Grant, or PSG, generally supports pre-approved solutions from an approved list of vendors, which means the software or equipment you choose has to be one that has already been assessed and listed for that grant. If you pick a product that is not on the approved list for a scheme that requires it, the cost may simply not qualify no matter how good the product is. So before you fall in love with a particular solution, check whether the scheme you want needs a pre-approved vendor, and if it does, choose from the official list which lives on the official pages rather than in your assumptions. A clear project plan. Beyond the individual documents, most grants want to understand what you are actually trying to do. So a clear project plan or scope is worth preparing even when the form does not demand a formal one. In plain terms, you want to be able to explain what the project is, why you are doing it, what it will cost, and what outcome you expect, whether that is higher productivity, new capabilities, or less manual work. Grants are handing out public money, and they favor projects that are specific and credible over ones that read like a wish list. So write down the problem you are solving, the solution you have chosen, the costs broken down in a way that matches your quotations, and the results you expect in concrete terms. Even a single tidy page does two things for you. It makes the application itself far faster to fill in because you are copying from your own notes rather than inventing answers on the spot, and it makes your project read as considered rather than vague. Proof you have not started. This next point is one of the most important and one of the most commonly missed. Many grants will not fund work that has already begun. The logic is straightforward. The support is meant to help you decide to do something, not to reimburse a decision you had already made and paid for. So a lot of schemes require that you have not signed the contract, paid the deposit, or started the project before your application is approved. If you have already committed to the vendor, the whole cost can become ineligible. That is a painful way to lose funding over timing alone. So the sequence matters enormously. As a general rule, get your application in and where required approved before you sign anything, pay anything, or begin the work. Keep your quotations, your plans, and your dates in order so you can show the project was still ahead of you when you applied. If you are unsure where the line sits for your scheme, confirm it on the official pages because getting the order wrong is one of the few mistakes that no amount of good paperwork can rescue afterwards. Keep everything in one folder. Finally, the humble tip that ties all of this together: keep everything in one place. Once you have your CorpPass sorted, your biz file extract, your financial statements, your quotations, and your project plan, put them all in a single clearly named folder, digital or physical, so that when the application asks for a document, you are attaching it in seconds rather than searching your inbox. Name the files sensibly, keep only the latest versions, and note down any reference numbers as you go. This sounds almost too simple to mention, but disorganization is one of the quiet reasons applications stall because a busy owner opens the form, cannot find the first file it asks for, and closes the tab meaning to come back later, and later never comes. A tidy folder turns the application from a treasure hunt into a short, calm session, and if you apply for more than one grant or reapply next year, most of your groundwork is already sitting there ready to reuse. Common mistakes. Let us name the mistakes that trip owners up again and again. The first is leaving CorpPass and authorization to the last minute, then discovering the person filling in the form cannot actually submit it. The second is applying with outdated ACRA details, so the company particulars on the form do not match the register. The third is having stale or messy financials that take days to pull together under deadline pressure. The fourth is choosing a vendor or a solution that is not pre-approved for a scheme that requires it, so the cost does not qualify. And the fifth, the costly one, is starting the project, signing the contract, or paying a deposit before you are supposed to, which can knock the whole thing out of eligibility. Every one of these is avoidable, and notice that every one of them is about preparation and timing rather than about the merit of your project. How to check? So how do you make sure your application does not stall? Start on the official channel rather than a forum or an old blog post, because the exact documents each scheme wants and the rules about vendors and timing live there and are updated over time. In practice, the Business Grants portal on gobusiness.gov.sg is where many schemes are applied for, and Enterprise Singapore's pages explain the individual grants in detail. The sensible sequence looks like this. First, sort out your CorpPass and confirm the authorized person well ahead of any deadline. Second, pull a recent biz file extract and make sure your ACRA details are current. Third, get your recent financial statements ready in a clean format. Fourth, gather proper quotations, checking whether your scheme needs a pre-approved vendor. Fifth, write a short project plan with costs and expected outcomes. Sixth, confirm the rules on starting work, and do not sign or pay until you are cleared to. And through all of it, read the official page for your specific grant because we cannot approve you and the requirements genuinely differ from scheme to scheme. Quick recap. Let us pull it together. Before you apply for almost any Singapore business grant, you want a valid CorpPass with the right authorized person, your ACRA company details current in BizFile, recent financial statements ready to attach, proper quotations from vendors with an eye on whether the scheme needs a pre-approved one, a clear project plan setting out costs and outcomes, and a careful eye on timing so you have not already started the work you want funded. Keep all of it organized in a single folder so applying becomes a quick, calm task instead of a scramble. None of this guarantees you a grant, but it removes the avoidable reasons application stall. Because the precise documents, vendor lists, and timing rules are set officially and change over time, the live details always come from gobusiness.gov.sg and the relevant agency pages, never from memory. A closing reminder, remember the spirit of this channel. Our job is to hand you the map and the checklist so that applying for support stops feeling like a paperwork ambush and you can walk into the official portal already knowing what you will be asked for. But the official sources always have the final word. Nothing here is a promise that you qualify or that any particular document is all you will need because requirements genuinely differ by scheme and change over time. When you are ready, get your CorpPass and your records in order, gather your quotations and your plan, read the official page for your grant on gobusiness.gov.sg, and apply before you start the work. If this made grant paperwork feel more manageable, subscribe for more plain English Singapore grant explainers, and we will keep turning these schemes into plain English, one scheme at a time, so you can stop leaving support on the table.